I've printed off a 9 LED array and a battery holder. Obviously it doesn't look like the Matariki display, and 18 pins, so I can show you how to wire it all together. So the first thing we need to do is take all this away and take all the raft off and get our pieces of work ready to be wired up. Let's get started. So you can see I've removed the raft, and the point I'm talking about in terms of making sure that you have the negatives and the positives all on the same side, you can see when I wire this together, I will be able to have all the positive terminals all the way around the outside and all the negative terminals on the inside. And you can also see here I've got the battery, and the battery's set up so I can put all this together when I'm finished, and I can fit it all together, and I'll show you how the wiring goes, and this will all sit snugly together, and you'll be able to tape that together to keep the battery safe, but also with the little aperture here you'll be able to connect up with your wires. So now it's time to put some LEDs into our array and start wiring up. Before you mount all of your LEDs into your model, your badge for Matariki, it pays to test each of the LEDs first just to make sure. So if you're using a watch battery like this, the bottom side is negative and the top side is positive. So it's really easy to test your LEDs. You just slide the long leg, there we go, this is working. Just slide the long leg onto the top side and the short leg onto the bottom side. It shows you've got to get a good clear connection like that, and then we've got a green LED working. So we know that one can work, and we can put it into our badge. Now remember, on an LED you have a long leg and a short leg, and the long leg is the positive and the short leg is the negative. And now we're going to arrange these in a logical manner around our array. So let's get our model, and we're going to put these in the slots here like this. So I'm going to get my LED. It's a bit fiddly, but I suggest you do the same thing all the way around. Make sure you've got your positive pointing the same direction. You just be consistent, and I'm going to put the LED in the hole like this. And so we can see that this side is going to be the positive side and the other side is going to be the negative side. And we're going to arrange all of our LEDs, and I'll just put them all in now and show you what it looks like when we've got them all organized. So you can see I've got my LEDs organized in all the holes here. I've got all the positives pointing to the outside, all the negative legs, all the short legs pointing to the inside. And now what I need to do is I need to just do one side of this at a time. So I'm going to do all the positive connections first, and then I will do the negative connections second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a leg like this, and I'm just going to bend it down so it's over the hole like this. And now using a pair of pliers, I'm going to, using needle nose pliers, I'm going to bend it as close as I can to the center here and push it down into the hole. It's a bit fiddly, so I shall just have a go at that, and I shall show you what it looks like when it's finished. You can see here what I've done is I've bent it into the hole, and sometimes the leg might stick out a little bit, but at the moment it's not too bad here. But I've bent it down. I want to get it as close as I possibly can to the edge of the circle there, so that when the other wires that connect in between and between here and the battery, or in the next one around here, there's lots of space for the pin to go in. So I will go around and do all the positives first before I do any of the negatives. And the technique I've got, I've put all these in, I'll just show you the last one. What I tend to do is I get the pliers. You can do it with your hand as well, but if you do it with the pliers, what you can do is you just bend it just a little bit like this, and then you can push it in to the hole like that. And sometimes you get stuck on the sidewall, so you just give it a bit more of a bend. The LEDs are quite good at accepting your multiple bends to get it right. A bit difficult to do it through the camera, to be fair. But you can see the other ones that I've done, they've all been pushed in down like this, ready for the negatives to be done. So here you can see all 9 of my LEDs have now been mounted. If you can, let's just see if we can zoom in, you can see how I've bent them down. That's the positive side, and that's the negative side there. You can see I've bent them down to so they're nice and snug on each side. So now we're ready to start cutting the wire to connect the positive and negative terminals. And so now it's time to wire up all the positive terminals and all negative terminals together. So we need to get rid of this, we need some of this, and we need one of these. So we need some single core copper wire, and what we need to do is we need to cut short lengths of this single strand copper wire, and I'm going to now bend this into shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a very short little bend. So just about the width of my needle nose pliers is probably enough. And I'm just going to bend it through 90 degrees like this. And I get my model. And so we're going to choose this part here. I'm going to put it into here, and we can see that it fits across here, and it might be a bit long, so I might just trim a little bit off. It doesn't have to be terribly accurate. Just trim a little bit off, and then I'm going to bend it again. So I come down to here, bend it again. You can always tweak this, and I'm going to put this in here like that. So what we're trying to do is, you can see I've made a strand or a connection across those gaps there, and I now need to make one. This is for the negative terminals from here to here, then from here to here, so all 9 are connected. So I'm going to go away and do that and show you what the finished model looks like. But this is basically what we're trying to create, is a connection between each of those loops with a right angled bend between each one. Okay, so you can see I've done the negatives here, and I've gone all the way around all 9 terminals, but I haven't put a connection in to the battery yet. So now I'm going to do the 9 terminals of the positive circuit, and then we're going to put the pins in. So now you can see what I've done is I've now wired up all the positives. So the wires it's like a train track going all the way around. The negatives don't touch the positives, and the positives don't touch the negatives. Now I've left the last connection to the battery till last. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to prepare the pins, and then I'm going to show you how to, once the pins have been prepared, how to put the pins into here and connect this all up and make it nice and rigid. Now it's time for us to sort out the pegs that are going to connect all those wires we've just put into our Matariki model. And it's these that are going to make everything connect together and make the circuit work. So let's get on with these. Now these have been taken off the raft, what we have to do is we have to put copper tape around this part here and nice and snug. And if the pin is too loose in the hole, we can just add another layer of copper tape. So let's get started with this. We'll need some copper tape. So we've got some copper tape here, and it's like sellotape. So one side is the conductive metal side, and the other side is sticky. So what we need to do is we need to, it's a bit fiddly, we need to separate the, there we go, just done that. We need to separate the copper from the backing. And what we need to do now is grab hold of our copper tape, so we get this into focus, what I'm doing, try and put it nice and as neatly as we possibly can in here, and just stick it on. And it's a bit of a fiddle because it's so tiny, but it's worth getting it right. Just peel this back a little bit, not too much, and just roll it round. Make sure we get this in here. Roll it round the peg very gently. Try and keep it as smooth and as tight as you can. I'm just doing this a little bit here, and I've gone round once, and so it sticks to itself. Just keep the backing tape peeling off like this. And once we've got all the way round, it will stick to itself. If you've got round once, get the scissors and cut it. And we have, just spin it around once nice and tight. we have one coppered connector, and it's this connector here that is going to join all those metal spurs up together. So 1 down, 17 to go. So once I'd put the tape on, I found the best thing to do was to just to turn the handle like that, just to help to really just sort of streamline and polish the copper onto the spur like that, so it makes it nice and neat and even. So here is a pin, all beautifully done with the copper tape. And what we're going to do now is what we can do is just put it straight into a hole here and push it in, and that is now a connected pin. And so that cable is now held in place. That one, you can see that one's sprung up, but as I put the next one in, it'll pin it in place, and I'm going to go around and do all 18. So here we are. I've got 16 pins in. I've left 2 out for the final connection, but this is what your final product should look like. And so some of the pins are quite tight to push in, and the tighter the better, because that means your pins aren't going to fall out inadvertently. But you can see how we've got all the pins in, and we're now ready to connect up the final 2 terminals, so the positive terminal to this side of the battery, and then the negative terminal on the left hand side over here to the back of the battery. And so I'm now going to make those final pieces of pin. Don't forget they've got to tuck inside these little holes here, and then I should just be able to slip in the battery and test our LED array, and it'll all be working. So here you can see I've put everything together, and I've made a special long wire round here for the positive, and a special wire for the negative that goes to the back of the battery, and everything's plugged in, and only 2 LEDs work. Now that's okay. You're going to make it. You're not going to get a perfect circuit. You might do. You might be lucky enough to do that. But what this tells me is we can, even though we've only got 2 LEDs working, it tells me that I've got a complete circuit around the positive and negative sides, because the battery power, you can see here, which is what you can see, that the positive circuit is this way around the outside, and the negative circuit for the battery goes all the way around this way. So it tells me that this negative and positive circuit is working. So the problem is the connections between this circuit here and the LEDs. Now this is probably to do with the difference in gauge of the wires. If you look, you can see that the wires are slightly thicker. My copper wires here are slightly thicker than my LED wires, and so there might be slight gaps. So what I need to do now is I just need to go around, sort out and test each of these circuit points, and just a question of working my way around logically and lighting up each LED as I go around, as I make my adjustments. So after several minutes of fiddling around and checking my circuits, you can see that I've got all of my LEDs, 9 LEDs now working. You see there's 6 there and there's 6 there. And what that means is that you expect the connections not to work, and I just systematically worked around, built up the circuit again, and just checking each connection. And actually I found a couple of dead LEDs, so it pays to actually make sure that you have checked your LEDs before you plug them in. And I would also recommend that you choose LEDs of the same color, because different LEDs make different charges on the battery, and so to make different drains. Let's just flip this over so you can see what it looks like from the front. And so you can see there's the LEDs from the front, 9 there, and 9 at 3 at the top there, so it's 6 and 9 altogether. So that's how you wire together your Matariki badge or emblem, and you can stick that in a window and you can have it going at night.